athletic program.
Hey, we're live here on Mr. C on YouTube, and we're about to simulcast with. Hello?
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm calling it. I'm trying to call another Rotunda show.
Yeah, hey, is this Chris?
This is me, yes.
Hey, all right, brother, how's it going, man? I was just going to have you on for the third segment. That's okay. We can do it now. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me live on the line, I've got Chris Conley, a.k.a. Mr. C, longtime Svengoolie fan, and we give him the title of Svenologist. How you doing tonight, bud?
Oh man, I'm excited. I was listening in the morning, and then it was a what do you call it? Not a replay show, but a past. So anyway, I'm trying to get the lay of the land for your station, and it's good stuff. I know I was supposed to call in during the commercial. I apologize that I called one commercial too early, but I'm excited to be here.
Hey, that's all right, man. Listen, we can always supersize the interview if we want to. Nothing wrong with that. You know, I always say there's no such thing as too much spent. So let's get after it. So Chris, you know, maybe you could tell me a little bit about how you first found Svengoolie, because out here in New England, I only found out about him maybe about 8 or so years ago when a buddy of mine told me there was a Godzilla movie on, and so I tuned in. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? And then by the end of the show, I'm like, this is pretty cool. I'm going to DVR this thing. I'm going to see this every week. So how did you get into Svengoolie?
Well, Svengoolie, at the time, I first discovered in the early 80s when he was son of Svengoolie and was not nationwide at that time. He was a regional horror host. So people of your area might be a little more familiar currently with the Penny Dreadful, or generation back from Penny Dreadful was Simon's Sanctorum. But yeah, so as a young guy in the world, I'm holding up at that time with the technology of that age. I'm holding up the tape recorder near to the TV to try to capture the musical parodies, to try to capture a little bit of out of the kaiju, the Godzilla and the Gamera horror movies. And then, you know, things fast forward a lot to the time you jumped on, you know, then when our guy graduated from being the son of Svengoolie and then just took on the moniker of Svengoolie, who was his predecessor. But okay, so now he's, I like to say, the reigning Svengoolie. So yeah, then I'm just having a great time with it as a national horror host show now. And then there's all kinds of Facebook groups and, you know, Twitter. Now it's X. And anyway, so there's also Reddit. So I am one of the people that's in the Reddit subreddit for Svengoolie fan group. And that's just a fun place to hang out also.
It is, sure. And you know, talking about how, you know, Rich started off as son of Svengoolie. The original Svengoolie was Jerry Bishop, right? If I have that correct?
That's absolutely right, Jerry Bishop. And now I didn't do my homework enough to say what I don't know the real names of your local, the Boston area horror hosts, but I just know their stage names. But yes, Jerry G. Bishop was the first Svengoolie, and Rich Coase is the current and long-standing Svengoolie.
And it's so cool how, you know, he was just, you know, Jerry was just kind of generous, you know, with the franchise, if you will. And, you know, it kind of turned it over to Rich and just, of course, the awesome job, you know, that he's done with it. And I know, Chris, what keeps me coming back is there's movies that maybe I, A, haven't seen before, or B, I haven't seen in a long, long time. And just the skits are like out of this world. So it's like those two things that keep me either watching it live on Saturday night or recording it to watch on Sunday, you know, at my leisure. What are the things that keep you coming back?
Well, the same things, as what you're saying. Like a lot. Okay, so there is a range of appreciation I have for the movies. So like core to my heart, I had just referenced the Godzilla era stuff. I absolutely, you know, going back to my earlier years, get a big kick out of the Godzilla stuff. Now, I would rate my top tier stuff over there as the classic Universal monster stuff and the 30s and 40s, your Dracula, your Wolfman, your Frankenstein, your Mummy, your Invisible Man, your Creature of the Black Lagoon. All those are top flight. So, like, I would watch those movies on their own, but now you add in the cornball comedy bits and the song parodies provided by Rich Coase and now his team. And most recently, they're expanding into the Sven Squad. So either other supporting characters are now Nostalgia Ferratu, played by longtime local to Chicago radio guy Bill Leff. And then you have a Gwen Gooley played by Sarah Palmer. And then you have the Imp character played by Scott Grider. And just, it's a real good cocktail. It's a real good mix of comedic personalities to be able to participate in.
Oh yeah, and it's great because this way here, Sven's not carrying, the whole load every show, which can get kind of, it can get kind of tedious. I liken it to it's similar but different to this program that I have here. I can fill up an hour yakking every week. That's no problem. But it does get kind of like tedious after a while. So it's great to have, in this case, a really cool guest like yourself calling in. Certainly a cooler guy than me, for sure. Or, to have some other, I had some co-hosts while I was in Europe to kind of carry it along. It's definitely a big help. One thing that stands out to me, too, you mentioned the Universal Monster franchise. Something I get a kick out of is just that they're all in black and white, of course, because they were made so long ago. And to me, it does something for me. It makes it feel more, I guess the word is elegant, when I see them in black and white. I don't know if that's just me, or do you have more of an appreciation for, as you said, that genre as opposed to the more modern stuff?
No, definitely. Elegant is a fitting word. I'd say it's got a mystique. It's got an ambiance. You're talking black and white and grayscale, shadows and lighting. Like we can look at the artistry of the performers. We can also look at the artistry of the cinematographer, and then add into the mix the eye, the way the lighting crew sets up to highlight things. And my other pal, Casual Crafter, who does custom paint jobs on action figures and statues and such. He says, well, everybody knows that when it's Halloween and you hold the flashlight under your chin, it gives you a scary face. So that's a more comedic interpretation of it. But yeah, it is a little bit art and a little bit science coming together. When just talking pictures, we're barely, we're in their infancy. We're at their very earliest stages.
Exactly. Hey, Chris, I'm going to ask you to hang on because we have to take a commercial break. But if you can hang on through the commercials, we'll keep the talk going into the next segment. That sound cool to you?
It's more than cool to me, and I suppose this was the commercial I was supposed to call in for anyway. So let me follow the bouncing ball the way it was supposed to bounce.
No worries, brother. We got you. Okay, we're going to take another quick commercial break. We're halfway through the show. Stay tuned. We're going to talk some more with Chris Connolly, Mr. C, about everybody's favorite horror host, Svengoolie. You are listening to 990WBOB.com.
Co-working is a comfortable place for work, meetings, and events. We offer a variety of monthly memberships, including work from home and office address memberships. No leases or long-term commitments are required. Proud co-working memberships include free off-street parking, private meeting rooms, secure Wi-Fi, and more. Give us a call today at 401-536-9336. That's 401-536-9336.
I don't know why Spring, they're on their commercial. Later on, we're going to check out the Rondo Awards and go through the Rondo voting process.
Building
I
6
still don't know why I'm whispering there on commercial.
Or book a tour at
But
stoptheworking.com.
Rondo ballots are due
Stop
May
the
1st
Working.
for whoever's
Great place
voting
to work
for
and
Rondo
meet.
Awards. We'll be talking about that.
Black and Gold Nation. Get ready to support your Bryant Bulldogs like you never have
Go
before.
Bulldogs.
You won't miss a single moment of the action with the help of BryantTickets.com. Yes, sir. BryantTickets.com can hook you up with tickets to all your favorite Bulldog sports teams. From the gridiron over at the Navigant Fieldhouse to the courts at the Chase Athletic Center to the fields at Burns Stadium, BryantTickets.com has you covered no matter what. Check it out for great deals and tickets at reasonable prices. That's BryantTickets.com, a proud sponsor of 990 WBOB.com.
Viking Bags is the world's largest manufacturer of motorcycle luggage and aftermarket parts. Viking Bags sells
I'm in
leather
new
and hard
territory.
saddlebags for
I
some of the
could
most
try to
expensive bikes on the
speak
market.
during the commercial, but I don't know when their commercial is going to end.
Polo bags,
But
motorcycle
definitely
handbags,
after we're finished
motorcycle
with
windshield
WBOB Radio,
motorcycle
with the
trunks,
Rotunda show,
motorcycle
we will be
bags.
looking at the Rondo
We're
Awards
located in the heart of Southern
and the
California,
voting categories.
US of A. Check us out at VikingBags.com and enjoy the savings. That's VikingBags.com to enjoy 15% off. Newsweek called VikingBags.com the best online store for motorcyclists. Join the Vikings family and be the first to get deals, invitations to rider events, and access to our media. Viking Bags and VikingBags.com. The world's largest
Thanks,
manufacturer
Chystar.
of
Here we are
motorcycle
getting
luggage
interviewed,
and
getting all grown up.
990 WBOB.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Rotunda here on 990 WBOB.com. We have Chris Connolly with us still, known as Mr. C, longtime phenologist, and we're talking about our favorite horror host, of course, Svengoolie himself. Chris, during the break, I was thinking, as we were talking about the Universal, franchise and the black and white movies and all the elegance around it and the crispness, I'm also a bit of a Wikipedia nerd or geek, as you might say. When it's usually within the first half hour of the show and Sven starts talking about the bios of the actors, I just find it really interesting to look them up, kind of while the show's going on, see what else they were, what other products they were in, because some of them were in just entire franchises. Some of them it was a one-off, and just kind of read about their lives. Have you ever done that as well?
Oh yeah, Wikipedia, IMDb. There's a bunch of different interesting ways to dig in a little deeper. He makes the frequent joke about Perry Mason. A lot of the people from that certain era would end up to be guests on the TV series Perry Mason. So there's talking about diving. There's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down, or you can dive into a bunch of different directions of following the careers. And, sometimes it flushes out for your Bela Lugosi's, your Boris Karloff's, your Lon Chaney Sr. and your Lon Chaney Jr. You can learn interesting stuff about their careers, or you find somebody that you didn't really know about very much before. And they've had, a classic old Hollywood era career. It's kind of neat. It's kind of fun.
It 100% is. Now, have you ever met Sven in person?
Well, that's why you had the good fortune, and their ongoing joke is Berwyn. So let me tell you, I have spent time in Berwyn, but I don't live in Berwyn. I do live in the fine city of Chicago. And so that gives us the good opportunity here to be able to make some of the appearances. So included in the convention appearances, there is the Flashback Horror Convention, which comes through in the summer. This time around, it'll be the final days of July for 2026 and the first days of August in that overlapping weekend. And I think either the guest of honor or featured guest this time around is going to be David Naughton, who had been in American Werewolf in London. So that's my future. That's what I'm looking forward to. And then just recently, the C2E2, it's the comic book and entertainment convention. So Svengoolie each year makes it out to do signings and photo ops and conducts a panel, a Q&A questions. And that's hosted by, again, local Chicago radio legend John Suntress, who had been on our sports radio WSCR for a lot of years, and now he does the Word Balloon podcast and Word Balloon YouTube show where he's interviewing comic book creators. So there's conventions, and then there's also other appearances. I've seen Sven at the local costume shop. I've seen him at one of the local libraries. He's a man about town in the best of ways.
And it just seems like, I haven't met him in person, and of course, I know we all tend to, people that we like or we admire, we kind of project good things onto them. But really, everything I've seen about the guy, he just seems like a decent, down-to-earth guy. I forget if I shared this with you when I was on your YouTube channel or not, but this is going back probably right before COVID. I'd actually just shot my shot, so to speak, and emailed to see if he'd be interested in coming on for an interview. And believe it or not, he got back to me in like about 10 minutes. We were going to do like a pre-record, but we just couldn't line the time up with like the studio time and his time or whatever. But to me, that was pretty cool for a big size star like that to get back to you right away. It just seemed really personable and even like apologetic when the time didn't line up. And I'm like, dude, you've got nothing to apologize to me for. I'm just glad you even acknowledged me. So it just seems like I said, just a salt of the earth guy as far as I can tell.
And Mr. Rotundo, I respect that you took that shot. That's a beautiful thing. And then just this past weekend, I had on Terror Dave of terrordaves.com. Terror Dave is one of the preeminent bloggers in the Svengoolie universe. And he was saying the same story you're telling is Sven was trying to find a way to get Kevin Smith, director Kevin Smith, movie writer Kevin Smith, comic book writer Kevin Smith. But so your story of the slightly misconnection with Sven is the overlapping story. They just couldn't work it out to get together with Kevin Smith. But yeah, it's as Dave will tell you up and down in his blog, or as other people who, I know there's a lot of sports shows on the radio, on your radio station also. So I don't know if people have been to a sports convention or event, but yeah, sometimes you got to stand in line for a minute to get your autograph or to have your handshake. And so many of the people who have been in the line at the events would say the same thing. You're saying would echo your sentiment that he's a sincere person, that if he, it's tough to cap to the end of the line and say, okay, you're in, you're out, you're on this side of the velvet rope, you're on the outside of the velvet rope. But it has been in the past that he would stay extra long time to try to make sure everybody was accommodated. So, when they say, there's an exception for every rule. And in this case, if the rule is don't meet your heroes, then he is proven time and time again to be the exception of the rule. It is, in this case, cool to meet your hero or the entertainer that you enjoy very much.
Yeah, and I do hope to have him on one day or to meet him. I think that would just be awesome. And I mean, in terms of like the segments he does, my favorite, as I said, is just kind of the bios of the authors, and sometimes when he does Svengoolie on the road. I wanted to ask you, Chris, what do you think about the parody songs that he does? Because I think those are just hilarious as well. And he just like to be able to tie that all into, for my listeners that don't know, himself and one of the other characters on the show will, they'll do a song in tune and everything, and it ties into the major events of the movie. And to be that creative is amazing.
It is, and let me name names. So the character name is Doug Graves, and it took me a great number of years to realize the pun there about like digging a grave, Doug Grave. So they go back to being high school pals. I think they were in band together as they were at the same high school here in the Chicago suburbs. And so, yeah, absolutely right now, because of a couple things, because it's now a nationwide show and because of lawsuits can be achieved or set in motion now in a maybe more aggressive way than in the late 70s, early 80s. So they try to stick to public domain songs now. And let me say, absolutely, they get a good mileage out of that. And now this is me, old man shakes cloud at fist or shakes fist at cloud or some kind of thing like that, or get off my lawn or something like that. I do also treasure my memories of the older set of songs because you'd get, contemporary song parodies, say like from the Police, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. They'd convert it to Every Little Thing She Does Is Tragic. And, there was just whatever the popular, chart topping songs were at the time, they would get played into their parody songs. And then not as a parody, but let me offer you this because I know Billy Joel's not immediately on your doorstep, but if we pull back the camera, pull back the microscope a little bit, Billy Joel, somewhat regional to your area. And the song closer used to be You May Be Right, and that's You May Be Right, I may be crazy, and it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. So absolutely, the musical component to the show is some of the essential DNA to it. It definitely enhances the experience, or it's an essential segment within what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it couples well with, I've watched a couple of the Abbott and Costello monster movies that Sven shows. And it's great to be able to watch those with my youngest daughter too, because she's just now starting to get into the horror genre. It's a good way to, I think, kind of get your feet wet. You're watching it. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit funny. Then we got a funny song, and then we've got the skit. So to just this way here, she can still go to bed on time. You know what I mean? I don't want to aggravate the wife by having the kid up and scared. So it's a good way to to get her involved as well. And who I haven't seen much of lately is Svengoolie. I mean, that was a hot property for a little while, which seems to have kind of been eclipsed by the Sven Squad. Of the two, I find the Sven Squad a little bit more funny just because it's more of an ensemble. Do you think eventually, as Jerry Bishop kind of transitioned the franchise to Rich, that Rich would eventually transition the franchise to this almost kind of committee? Or do you think, eventually there'll be someone else, basically anointed as the next standard bearer of the franchise? And there's no wrong answer here. I'm just
right. We're just shooting the breeze and speculating. And I was going to, again, try to establish some, for whatever it's worth, credibility that I don't have a penny dreadful spell book or crystal ball before me to phrase it that way. But I mean, yeah, eventually, right, the man will retire. And then sometime, there's a decent amount of frequent speculation of that. And again, I understand people are, some people are more, every single week fans. Some people are come and go here and there fans. So it's been interesting. He'll pretty frequently say, he's still having fun with it as long as his health allows for it. And as long as he's having fun, he plans to continue on. So there's that, but not everybody hears that message in a consistent way. So every every so often, I guess is the best way to phrase it. Every so often it will come back around to the rumor mill of, is he about to retire or what have you? But now coming to the speculative point or the specifics you've inserted into the question, it has every appearance that the heir apparent or the collective heirs apparent will be Nostalgia Ferratu and Svengoolie and the Imp. And hey, the same thing. I for whatever my 2 cents are worth here, maybe not a full 2 pennies, but I for anybody in there, like when it comes my time to retire, I would like it to be on my own terms as much as possible. So anybody from whatever their job is, let them exit the job, by their own volition and when the timing is right. So definitely I say the same applies to Svengoolie, to Rich Coase.
Man. Hey, Chris, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you so much for calling in. I'm actually glad you called in a bit early. We get to have a lot more fun here, which I will never complain about. We got about a minute or two left, and what I like to do when people call in is I like to kind of turn over the last couple of minutes just so they can let my audience know, what they're doing and where they can be looked up. So if you wanted to share any social media or about your YouTube channel or where people can find you on Reddit, I just wanted to give you this couple of minutes to do that.
And I appreciate that. Let me say, hey, I appreciated your accepting the offer to come on a YouTube and talk with me about all things Svengoolie. That conversation and this one, now it's like a continuation of the thread. So if your listeners are so inclined, I invite them to pass through the subreddit for Svengoolie on Reddit. And then as far as what's coming up next for me, well, definitely between now and the weekend, I'll be clowning around on Reddit some more. But definitely, as soon as we finish this call, I'm going to break down the Rondo Award. So, there's Oscars and Grammys and Tonys, but specific to the horror community, there's the Rondo Awards. And that's, let me see, if I can see the website for that a little bit more quickly. I think it's just rondoaward.com. So if people like to check that out, that's out there. I'm going to speak on that a little bit after we're finished speaking, and then don't let me get too long-winded here. This coming weekend, I will have up the Dead Skeleton. He's quite a comedic guy and a Svengoolie fan, so I'm just continuing to try to contribute to the community and have some fun conversations. And I do appreciate you having me over here on the 990 WBOB.
You bet, man. We'd definitely love to have you on again, brother. Again, thanks for calling in, and you have a great night.
You too. I'll see you in the Reddits.
Sounds good, my friend. All right, everybody, that was Chris Connolly, Mr. C. You can find him on the r/Svengoolie thread on the Reddit. We're going to take a quick commercial.
All right. Wow. That was, again, new territory. Again, as the Mr. C channel, we have a history of sending Jim Campbell the wrong link and having Jim Campbell be the host via the phone and the ghost in the machine kind of a way. Just this past weekend, we had Terror Dave doubled as the Invisible Man, and Chai-Star saying, proud of you, brother. Hey, Chai-Star, but just having your comments along the way, man, it helps take the pressure off, man. And again, I know you identify yourself as comic relief around here, and every time I'll say that you are, but also so much more than comic relief. So, okay, now that we did that, let's dig into the rondos a little bit here. Let me resituate. But hey, that was the first time I was simulcasting on anybody's radio station. So I'm just trying to, again, I don't want to say build a brand, but I'm trying to participate in the community. And let me also shout out to the Graveyard Club podcast. They have coming up, I think it's 2 days from now. I'll double check the group text over there, but reviewing the White Zombie movie, which is the movie that inspired Rob Zombie to name for his own name and the band's name. And it's obviously not as well known as Dracula. It's not a blockbuster as is Dracula, but it's the next movie Bela Lugosi did after Dracula. So that will be coming up on the Graveyard Club, the Graveyard Club podcast. But now let me scroll around about the rondos. So let me navigate here a touch. The Rondo Hatton Classic Awards created by David Colton. I was going to say Cotton, but it is Colton. David Colton and Carrie Gammill. Okay, is that the guy who did the Dracula? And man, I just relocated the stuff, and I'm always having something just slightly out of reach. Okay. The awards are fan-based and have no connection to any commercial sponsor. Anyone in fandom can vote or propose nominees. Yeah, illustrator Cameron Gamble. That is the same guy who did the Dracula Book of Franks. Look at me. I'm just finding this out right now. My gosh. Slow to connect the dots. But okay, the statuette is a miniature version of Rondo Hatton, who was not a Universal monster himself, but he played the Creeper. I think he had a kind of a loosely associated trilogy of more crime themed but spooky movies. Some might still consider them horror, some might not. But anyway, going all the way back to what was the first year, scrolling up. 2002 was the first time for the rondos, and the categories have expanded and expanded since then. In other words, there are more and more formats for which to get recognized. Now, voting will end Friday night, May 1st at midnight. If you're looking to be a rondo voter, there's the email address right there, taraco@aol.com. So you can submit your vote that way. And then I'm trying to get to the ballot now. There's all the past winners. So let's see here. Maybe I want you to get back out of the about and get out of the archives. Now I'm navigating myself into the corner. I'm painting myself into the corner. Here we go. Rondo. Here's the homepage of it. Let me how to vote. I just did all that. Okay, so here's this the ballot. Oh, here comes the ballot down here. So again, you can in your email you can list the number and the name of the category and what you're voting for. So it goes a little bit beyond horror, because here you could vote for the Fantastic Four, you could vote for Predator, you could vote for Superman, you could vote for the Wolfman, or write in a thing of your choice. Best TV presentation, Welcome to Derry. Wow, there's so many. The Sandman, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Star Wars Andor, Best Blu-ray. See, there's so many categories, and I'll be here a long time if I'm going to read each of them. But I did want to highlight Best Restoration, Best DVD Extra. There, Jim Henson's Storyteller. Oh my gosh, did I so like seeing those? That was so well crafted. Where are we going now? We're going okay. Best Independent Film. Best Short Film, Best Documentary, Book of the Year Nonfiction. It's going to get into Best Book on 70 Years of Godzilla. Man, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, to be sure. Best Magazine, Best Article, Best Interview, Best Column, Best Magazine Cover. See, it is very, very all-encompassing for what goes on here. I'm scrolling at a pace here. Best Website, and then Best Podcast. So noteworthy here, you got Bride of Monster Kid Radio. You got where are Borgo? I've listened to Borgo a little bit sometimes, but where is the Monsters That Made Us? Come on, I know there they go. Monsters That Made Us, Dan and Monster Mike right in there. So votes go up until midnight on May 1. Best Event of 2025. Favorite horror host. So here we go. All right. Don't let me speed too quickly past here. Dr. Gangrene is a really good guy. Elvira's kind of semi-retired, but she remains in the ballot for, as a legacy, as a historical achiever of great things here. Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy. A couple conventions ago got to, in the group format, not like a VIP way, meet Joe Bob. That's real cool that he pals around with Sven. I was making the comparison that when Bruce Springsteen and John Mellencamp did the Wasted Days song, that's kind of the same similar element. You got a Svengoolie and a Joe Bob hanging out together. It's some good stuff. Best Graphic Arts Presentation, write-in categories, advisory categories. Remember to include your full name and email in your picks. And again, that's taraco@aol.com. See a lot of pages here. I'm not going to get myself too trapped into that. All right, so this has been Mr. C diving in on a weeknight for my first time ever doing a simulcast to some internet radio. Many thanks to Scott Rotundo for inviting me to the Rotunda show. And people do check out your, if you're so interested, do check out your Rondo Awards ballots. And hey, please come back and hey, when's the next live stream? I'm just beginning to say it. It'll be Sunday night. I think maybe it's 5:00 Central, or it's something, but I'll get the link situated. I put a placeholder of a Godzilla face. Like and subscribe if you want, or just come and hang out for the conversation. It's cool to just hang out for the conversation. Now that Dead Skeleton sent me the photo of him and Svengoolie, I'll be getting a proper thumbnail up for that business. Okay. I better wrap it up because otherwise I'll keep going. I would say, Chris Farley in his bit where, oh, that's awesome. And then local, now retired Chicago weather guy, Tom Skilling, he was so excited to talk about the weather. So sometimes I'm at the intersection of Chris Farley and Tom Skilling, but hey, this is a school night and that's enough is enough for all. I will be back this coming weekend with the Dead Skeleton. Thanks, Chai Star, for jumping in comments. Michaela Storgoolie, good to have you around again. I'm going to go ahead and hit the end of the stream. Thanks, everybody, and we are out.